When looking at ancient buildings and structures built with megalithic stones, it brings wonder as to how the ancient people cut the stones with precision and then moved them. But the question I often wonder after that is, why did they choose to use such large stones in the first place? Wouldn't it have been easier to just use smaller stones? Smaller stones would be much easier to move and handle. But now I wonder if the answer to that question is kind of simple. We might not know for sure how they cut and moved the stones, but maybe the reason they chose to use such large stones is just because it was more time-consuming to cut the stones smaller. We don't know exactly what method they used for cutting the stones, but it stands to reason that whatever the method is, it takes longer to cut more than it does to cut less. Even with modern tools, the more cuts you have to make, the longer it is going to take. So as difficult as moving and placing such large stones may seem, it might have actually been less time-consuming to move the large stones. A man named Wally Wallington in Michigan devised a way several years ago to move megalithic stones on his own with just himself by placing smaller stones under the megalithic stone to give it leverage, and then spinning the megalithic stone on that leverage to move it forward onto the next smaller stone. I'll post a link to a video in the description of him showing how he does it. I don't know if his method is how the ancients did it, but it does show that a single man is capable of moving a megalithic stone. With that in mind, I think that might be the answer to my question as to why ancients chose to build structures with megalithic stones. It was faster to move a few large stones than it was to cut the stones into many smaller stones. This might have something to do with why people forgot how ancient megaliths were cut and moved after ancient builders shifted to using smaller mud bricks. I think this might have occurred sometime around the time of the building of the Tower of Babel. In Genesis 11 verse 3, it says they used brick instead of stone to build the tower. On the surface, it seems like kind of a random detail to include, to specifically point out that they did not use stone, as opposed to just saying they built it with bricks. So I think this might mark the point where peoples of the ancient Near East region shifted away from using megaliths and using baked mud bricks instead. And it makes sense that with bricks, you would make the bricks a smaller, more easily handled size because it's easy to do so. Since they are just baking clay, they can just as easily make 10 small clay bricks as they could one large one. With that in mind, I think using bricks became more common for building structures, and people eventually forgot how the earlier ancient people cut and moved the large megalithic stones, and forgot why such large stones were used in the first place. What do you think? Those are my thoughts on that. Thanks for listening.